Hey, it's Brett. I'm doing episode 4 of the Let's Build a Ruby Gem screencast, and in this episode I want to get continuous integration working with GitHub Actions to automatically run tests when code is pushed up and when a PR is open to make sure that RSpec and RuboCop are passing. When creating the gem with Bundler, it automatically set up GitHub Actions. I chose that option. So in the root of the project, there's a .github folder with workflows, and then a main config where it says Ruby, and it says for the jobs on Ubuntu, set up Ruby with the Ruby version and run the default rake task, which runs RSpec and RuboCop. But right now, the code is failing, and that is because it is failing with bundle, saying your bundle only supports the platform Darwin 19, which is Mac OS, but we're trying to run it on Linux. I did a little investigation into the problem there, and in an earlier episode, I checked in the Gemfile.lock into the project, but in reality, we don't want to do that. I was reading this blog post by Yehuda Katz, and he specifically says, do not check Gemfile.lock into version control. It enforces precision that does not exist in the gem command. So let's go ahead and remove that. And I think this is a neat little look at how to remove something from Git. You just do git rm f Gemfile.lock. That removes the file. And then we're going to actually git ignore it. So now if we get status, GST is just short for get status for me. If we add git ignore, remove Gemfile.lock from repo, ignore it. We don't want to check this in for gem development because it ends up having contributors install exact gem versions that wouldn't otherwise exist. It also enforces a platform that causes issues with GitHub Actions, CI and CI. So that removes it. Now if we run bundle, it installs everything. And if we remove Gemfile.lock and we run bundle, and we do get status, there's no diff, but if we cat the Gemfile.lock, the file was created. So I think that's what we want. I'm going to create a branch called fix CI so we can open a PR and show what that's like. And then we'll dig a little bit more into GitHub Actions too. GitHub Actions is new to me. I don't know too much about it. So part of this episode will be learning. I've used Travis CI, Circle CI, BuildKite quite a lot in the past jobs and personal projects. So they're all pretty similar in that you configure it to run your tests. And yeah, it's pretty nice. We'll open up a PR just to see what happens as we do this. So I'm going to title it GitHub Actions CI working. This PR includes changes to get the CI passing and ensuring it runs for pushes and PRs. This seems goofy because I'm pull requesting for myself, but I really want to show the GitHub Actions interface. So we have a green check here, which is nice. It built our push, which is fantastic, and set up Ruby where it was failing before with bundle install. It ran the default task, which is rake, and then it ran RuboCop. We have some post run, which looks like it just cleans up and reports when it's complete. So it ran on the push, but it's also going to run and check against the pull request. which we have it configured for both of those actions. And we'll see here, it's on push and on pull requests, and it's running against Ruby 2.6.5. I think something I would like to do is have this code run against all the supported Ruby versions, the latest ones in that series. So we'll do that next, but for now, I just want to show it failing for two reasons. So let's go and we'll go into our converty spec file and we'll commit a failing test that shows that it fails on CI. So we'll say expect someone who's like, let's do meters. We'll do like 4 feet. We expect it to be 4 meters. So it raises an exception, so the test fails. If we run RSpec locally, it fails. If we run RuboCop, RuboCop passes. So that's okay. Let's commit this. Add failing spec for CI example. You could also call this like a smoke test, where we're making sure that CI is actually working and it just doesn't always return green. Doesn't always return passing, which, there's a possibility that if it's configured wrong, it doesn't work. So we'll test RSpec, and then it's going to run that. And then I want to test that RuboCop causes a failure. So while that's running, let's go and make RuboCop unhappy. I think the best way to do that is to, RuboCop right now really cares about single quotes, so we'll just say like puts hi, and we'll run RuboCop. RuboCop fails. Let's run RSpec, make sure that passes, and then it does. If we run bundle exec rake, that will run RSpec and RuboCop, which is what our configuration for GitHub is doing, right? It runs rake, so we should see that fail too when we push it up. Now back in GitHub land, we see our checks have failed. And this is important because if someone's contributing to the code base, whether it's yourself or it's another person who wants to add to your gem, make sure that they haven't broken existing functionality that's covered by tests or gone against the linting rules that are configured and set up. You can, in GitHub, require that branches be passing, which is pretty cool. I don't want to rename master branch, but I do want to add a rule, which is for master, require reviews. We want status checks to pass. Branches being up to date would say that the code that's being pull requested in has the latest code in it, so that there aren't potential problems with other code that's merged, which I think is quite nice, actually. And let's not allow force pushes. And it wants a password. So we configured all that for the master branch, which I think is quite nice. That won't let this PR be merged because it's failing. So let's go and we'll fix CI and commit the RuboCop failure. Fix RSpec, break RuboCop. We'll push that up, and we'll let that run again. We can actually watch it run live, I think, which is pretty cool. So it's starting that, and I also want to say GitHub Actions run against multiple Ruby versions. Let's see if that's possible. building and testing Ruby, these are the docs. Testing multiple versions of Ruby. You can add a matrix for the different versions. X is the wildcard to match the latest patch release. That's really cool. So we're gonna want to go ahead and do that, and that will help us make sure that our code passes. You can even configure it to publish the gem. That's cool. Not something that I've done yet, but seems useful. All right, so we're back here. We have a failure, and that is because RuboCop failed. Let's go and fix that. Where did we have that? Here. Great. Let's run rake on the machine. I'm going to delete these commits. I'm not going to merge them, but I just want to push it up to show it. We'll say appease RuboCop. We'll push that up, get that green, and then while that runs, let's actually do this strategy for testing. So jobs, strategy matrix. So we're going to go back to the git config. This job is called build, which I think test is more accurate. And then for strategy, we're going to do matrix. And we have Ruby version here. Set up Ruby. We're going to want to change these steps here. So that's cool. What's nice about this is that if your project's open source, it's free, and it seems like it runs pretty fast. Let's open up our GemSpec, which is in this tab. And we want 250 or greater. So we will test against 2.5 series. Let's do 2.5.0 because that's the earliest. We'll do 2.5x, which is the latest in that series. Let's see what other major versions there are. So it's 2.6, 2.7, and 3. So 2.6, 2.7, and then 3.0. So this will ensure that when we're running our tests, we like as new versions of Ruby are made and as we make changes, that all the code rewrite is compatible with the versions that are supported by our gem, which is really important. The bundler cache, I think, is important, but I don't know exactly. So we're going to find out in a sec. But let's see if our PR is green. So our PR is green, which is fantastic. And so those are running. And now we're going to try running against these different Ruby versions. We'll commit that. So that's gap for me runs git add p in patch mode so we can see the changes. And that looks good. Let me close some of these. Okay. Now let's push that up. And we'll watch that run. I don't know if the bundler caching will cause a problem. Maybe it has something to say about that. Well, anyway, there's even the ability to test it on Mac OS, which is cool. And JRuby, Truffle Ruby. I don't know much about Truffle Ruby. I'd like to learn about that. That could be pretty darn useful for the Mac OS, but for now, let's keep it for those Ruby versions. And we've got quite a lot of failures, which I find really interesting. Unknown version on Ubuntu 20.0 available versions. So maybe I did something wrong there. Let's see what I missed. Runs on Ubuntu latest. It wants an array with the X. Why didn't that work? Strategy matrix Ruby version. Let's copy and paste what they have, and we'll see if that fixes it. Uses actions checkout at v2, set up Ruby. Uses Ruby, set up Ruby. We have the bundler cache, but other than that, oh, we didn't install dependencies. So maybe we do that. All right, we'll push that up, see if we can get that passing. It does run a lot of them, which I think is pretty interesting. Some of the checks are canceled. Let's see if that helped at all. Some of them are failing right away, which is interesting. 2.6. Wonder why this isn't working. That's interesting. Well, here's what we can do. We'll do specific versions. So we'll do 2.5.9. We'll do 2.6.7. And we'll do 2.7.3. And we'll do 3.0.1. We'll push that up again, see what happens. Oh yeah, here are some good docs on this that I'll include in the description. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully it works. Curious to watch them to see if it does bundle install twice. Yes, it does. So we'll want to remove that. Even though it's just using them, it's doing it twice, so we don't need that. Seems like their docs are a little out. The cool thing is, those all ran and passed. Except build, expected. Maybe it's because it changed the name. Yeah, maybe because it used to be build and then now it's not. But let's say remove double bundle install. Okay. Now I'm gonna go and rebase and delete some of these commits. So like these we don't need. This is a fix-up, this is a fix-up, this is a fix-up. Now we just have two commits. the one where we remove the Gemfile.lock and the other where we configure it. And let's put those up. I'm going to force push because we rebased, and that's okay. And then now we'll refresh, and we'll get a fresh build with all of our latest changes. It's still waiting for the build, but we got rid of that. Curious about how to remove that, but yeah, pretty cool. Seems like it's working. Passes on 267, passes on 259. So they're all green. Pretty nice. Pretty cool. Haven't used this much aside from this. Everything's green. It's saying it's expecting one, but it's missing it, and that's okay. It wants a review from me, and I'll approve it. Well, I can't do that, so I'll just merge it as an administrator. And we'll delete that branch. Now, if we go here and we look, we will have, hopefully, passing CI now, which is cool, using GitHub Actions. I'm sure there's more docs out there and more to learn, but for now, that's pretty nice. Seems like a good tooling, runs fast, it's free, and baked into GitHub. So great little overview. Yep, that PR merge just passed on all those Ruby versions. And yeah, that was nice. Glad to get that green. I think from here, I'd like to talk about documentation in a future episode, making it easy for people to contribute, maybe having a wiki, not sure that's necessary, projects. There's some cool stuff that GitHub has that might be nice to show off to make maintaining a gem easier. But for now, that's what we got. Thanks so much, and take care.